get it added in here. Should be there. I might have accidentally put it somewhere else. So these steps, once again, I know that this is going to happen. I should just download it. I kind of have what I'm going to talk through written down in a Word document, and that's up now under the Files tab under week 1. But I think we'll walk through it. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit easier to kind of see me actually work through all these steps as opposed to reading them. So the first thing we're going to have to do is you'll go to one.iu, and well, it's already pulled up here, but if it wasn't, we're going to go to cloud storage. Click on cloud storage. We're going to log in using, if it doesn't do it automatically, use your IU login information. Now notice here I've got my OneDrive selected, so I can't like, well, not going to undo mine, but usually if this doesn't have a green check mark next to it, there should be a button down here that doesn't say deauthorize, but it says authorize, right? So you want to make sure you click that so that it's authorized. After that, you should see this green check mark next to this OneDrive IU. And don't use the personal one, make sure you're using the IU one because this Stata program works through IU anywhere, so we need to make sure we're kind of keeping everything on IU, okay? Any questions on that? Is anybody doing that right now? Might be helpful, okay. If you run into any problems, let me know as we're working through this. So once that's selected, go back to one.iu, and now we'll search IU Anywhere. So here's this, have you guys used IU Anywhere for any other courses? Seen a couple nods, yes, no, okay. So you'll click on IU Anywhere. You'll have to then click on Login. Now I don't know, mine's like automatically doing it. It might prompt you once again for your IU email address and password, so you'll have to enter that. But once you do, you should see this like, welcome to Citrix Workspace app pop open. Is anybody working along with me seeing that? Okay. You should be have this option. I think once you do it once, you shouldn't have to go through this step. I have to go through this step every single time because they will like wipe these computers every single like 24 hours or whatever. So you'll hit detect Citrix Workspace, you'll agree, you'll hit download. See it's starting to download here. Once again, you shouldn't have to go through this only one time, this Citrix part. Okay? Once you have that downloaded, we'll hit continue. Let's see here. I'm going to actually go up here. So I've got this download. There we go. I'm going to click on it. So it's trying to open it. It might be a little slow since it's week 1 and a lot of people are on here. Oh, okay. Maybe it was already trying to automatically run it. I was just impatient. Okay. So welcome to the Citrix Workspace app. Hit continue. I agree. We're going to install this. And usually I'll have this done at the very beginning. I'll do this before we start class, so you guys don't have to watch me do this every single time. And this might take a little bit of time to get. So we'll wait. Still going. Sorry for the dead air. Almost there. All right. So, got Citrix Workspace open. I don't even think, as I said, use my IU email. Back to this. Okay, so once it's downloaded, go back there, show you that again. Let's go to IU Anywhere. Oh, now I can't. Okay, I did it too fast. So once you do have it downloaded, you don't have to, when it prompted me for my email address, so you don't have to do it through there. You'll just go back to IU Anywhere. You'll have that Citrix thing. It'll automatically should open up Citrix for you. And it sends you now to what looks like this screen. Did anybody get downloaded, sent this far, or did we get snagged somewhere? Did anybody get hung up, or everybody can see this screen now? Then? Okay. I think that thing is a little bit different because it's a university computer and this gets white. But like now that you have that done, you shouldn't have to ever go and do that again. So now once you get to IU Anywhere, from 1.iu. You go to log in. You shouldn't have to go through that whole Citrix process out again, okay? Unless you get a new computer or something. So now that I'm here, I'm going to go up here to apps. And under apps, I'm going to scroll down all the way at the bottom. And here's the Stata SE18. Right? And I also go back and forth. Everyone says it different. Stata, it's kind of like data, right? So whatever you want to call it, I'll know what you're talking about. Right? So we'll click down here. We should now be able to open this. Okay? So are you guys seeing the open option? Hopefully, yeah. So we'll go to open. Always going to allow this, even though I'll probably have to reset this every single time. It'll connect. It'll take a little bit of time. So this is one thing where I'm going to do all this before class starts. Probably be a good idea if you did, got this open up before class starts, because it can occasionally take some time. Because it's like, I think the way that it works is, I'm not like the most tech savvy person in the world, but I think it's operating like off of some cloud. So it takes a little bit of time sometimes for it to pull it open. All right, so there we go. So hit OK, check for updates, everything's good. This is now, we've got the program running, okay? So we've got this program running. There's nothing in it. So I'll just walk through a couple of things. So usually if I go up here, so how many of you, do any of you know or have used R or Python? A couple of you. So this is like probably going to be a little bit easier, or this will be easier. So the reason why I don't use R yet, I know that especially for Kelly students, they really like it because it is kind of the industry standard a lot. It's not as user friendly. The interface isn't as nice. It's a lot more coding. I don't think that there's really any course that like requires coding that's a prereq for this. So I'm going to kind of use Stata instead of R. Once we get to the end of the semester, if you're interested in learning more, I can point you to some things like DataCamp has some good R program. And you can do everything we do in this class in R, and it's just it's a different language, right? You can say the same thing in English and French. It just sounds different, right? It's just a little bit different in the syntax, okay? So if you're ever interested in learning some R, I do know some excuse me, resources to point you to. So here we've got this nice little user interface, and this is data editor or data browser. I typically never open the data editor because you shouldn't be editing your data. Like, you shouldn't be manipulating the data. But so usually what I do is I hit this data editor, and it should pull up my data set. Well, now the problem is I don't have a data set open yet, right? So it's just blank, right? Now eventually it'll open up some data. I'll have a bunch of different subjects. I can collect different variables, will be my columns. So how do we do that? So I'm going to go over here. Another thing that we use in Stata is something called a do file. So this is like where all of your output and where everything that Stata is doing, like all the code that it's running, it'll put it here like in the actual program. But your code, you want to save it, right? And you want to store it somewhere else, which is what we call this do file. So you'll click on this little icon. It opens a second screen. Well, let's kind of put them side by side. This is typically how I work. I do this like side by side, right? So this is my do file, right? And this is where I'm going to start to kind of type in my code and then save these files so I can go back later and rerun this code, right? Because every time I close out this program, the data like goes away. I have to reload it and do everything else again. Okay? So one thing you can do is if you know how to code, you can just start typing away, right? But this is why I use Stata. It's a lot easier. If I go to file, import, and I think the one I have, I think it's a CSV. Hopefully we'll see if I'm right. So if I open it, I want to open, there's like Excel spreadsheets, right? I could probably what you saw in 370. You could see data sets in Excel. They might be stored in what we call CSVs. It looks like Excel, but it's a little bit different because it stores it slightly differently behind the scenes. I think that's the data set that I have. A lot of data sets we will start out with are in that format. All right, so I went to File, Import, and I clicked on this text data or this .csv. I'm going to have to move this because it moved it behind it. There we go. So I now have this little box. What file do I want to import? Well, I have this 371. I have the kind of data files. These should be the two. Let's